Alright, hi everybody. It's Mrs. Harding here. Sorry that I haven't been in class the past 2 days. I will actually not be here the earliest till Friday, so I hope you guys are on your best behavior, and I'm going to do my best to try to teach you the lessons through these videos. So bear with me. The probability unit really only has two main topics that we'll cover over the next couple days, and that's it. And then when we do transformations, I should be back next week. Okay. So right now in front of you, you should have worksheet 2. We're going to take some notes on here as well as some notes on the bottom that are not on there for you to follow along with. Okay. First and foremost, probability. Okay. You were supposed to look at worksheet 1 and see what probability meant. Okay. Probability is the total number of outcomes in the denominator, and in the numerator it's the total number of successes. Okay. And then expected value of an event is the probability times the number of trials. So first we have to find the probability in order to do these problems. Okay. So it says, for example, if you roll a die 24 times, how many times would you expect to roll a 3? Okay. Well, first of all, every time you roll a 3, what's the total number of outcomes that you could have when you roll a dice? Okay. A dice, there's going to be 6 outcomes. Okay. So if we look at the probability, what is the probability of rolling a 3 when you roll a dice? Well, 1 out of 6 times. Okay. Then the expected value is times that by the number of trials. So we're going to times this by 24. So you would expect to roll a 3 4 times when you roll a dice 24 times. Let's take a look at an even number. Well, let's think about a dice. How many even numbers are there on a dice? Well, there's 2, there's the number 4, and there's the number 6. So if you roll a dice once, how many times would there be the likelihood of rolling an even number? Hopefully we would say 3. So the probability is 3 over 6, or in other words, 1 over 2. Okay, make sure you reduce your fractions. So multiply it by the total number of outcomes, and the likelihood when you roll a dice 24 times that you're going to get an even number is 12 times. All right, let's take a look at numbers 1 and 5. What are the likelihood of numbers 1 and 5 showing up on a dice when you roll it? Well, it says 1 or 5, so the probability is going to be 2 over 6. Or in other words, 1/3. Multiply that by 24 and you get 8 times. Okay. So once again, the probability is the total number of successes over the total number of outcomes. So when you roll a dice, there's 6 outcomes. If you want to roll a 1 or 5, that's 2 successes. So 2 out of 6, reduce it to 1/3, number of trials, 24. All right, let's take a look at a spinner. So a spinner with the numbers 1 through 10, what is the probability of spinning? 5. Now notice, it just asks for the probability this time. It doesn't say so many trials, how many times would you expect something to occur. It just wants the probability. So if we look at a number, spinner, and it goes through 1 through 10, there's 10 total outcomes and 1 chance of being successful. There's only 1 opportunity that you can roll a 5. Okay. An even number. Well, an even number, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So how many chances do we have to be successful? Well, hopefully you would say the answer is 5. Total number of outcomes is 10. We always reduce probability, so it's 1/2. So basically you have a 50% chance of rolling an even number with a spinner on 1 through 10. What about a 3 or a 7? Well, here's a 3, here's a 7. So 2 chances to be successful out of 10. Reduce, you get 1/5. Now notice this time they did expect you in number 7 to do expected value. This is 25 times. So the first thing you need to do is find the probability. Okay. So we have a total of 10 outcomes, and we want a 4 and 8. So I'm going to ask you this. What is the total number of successes that you can have? Hopefully you said 2. You reduce that, you get 1/5. Okay. But you're not done. That's the probability. It wants to know how many times would it occur, or what did you expect to roll a 4 and 8 if you roll or spin the spinner 25 times. So you have to multiply by 25, and you get 5 times. All right, I'm going to pause for a moment. Give you about 30 seconds or so to talk this over with your DFF. Do you guys have any questions on how to find the probability or expected value? All right, let's move on. It says the probability of getting the flu in the winter is 2 out of 5. So that means in this classroom right now, if there's 20 people, then that means every 5 of you, 2 of you will get the flu. So think about how many people that would be. Okay? So use that fact to answer the following. What's the probability of not getting the flu? So if there's 5 of you in front of you, 2 of you get the flu, what is the probability of the number of you that won't get the flu? Good. 3 out of 5. Okay. So back to how many will get the flu. So we're going to say we're sitting currently in the class of 25 people. How do we find out how many, or what's the likelihood of that many people getting the flu? We'll take the probability, multiply it by how many students you have in class, and you get 10. So there's the expected value that 10 people will get the flu by the end of this winter. Just in this class alone, if there was 25 people. So let's look at the bigger scale. Let's look at the school. If there was 3,000 people, okay, how many people would you expect to get the flu then? Okay, and it's right around, let's see, that's going to be 1,200 people will get the flu by the end of this winter if our school had an expected value, or a number of 3,000 people with a probability of 2/5. All right, I'm going to give you a moment. Go ahead and try numbers 11 through 14, please. All right, let's take a look. So what is the probability of getting an odd number? Well, for numbers 1 through 8, we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the probability of getting an odd number, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 over 8, reduce that, you get 1/2. What is the probability of not getting a 1 or a 7? So that means any other number besides 1 and 7. Well, that's going to be 6 total number of successes out of 8 total outcomes. So the probability is 3/4. Okay. What is the probability of a number less than 5? Notice it said less than, not equal to. So numbers 1 through 4. So 4 total successes out of 8 total outcomes, 1/2. Okay. And if you spin a 40 times, how many times do you expect to spin a 3 or a 9? Okay, now notice this is not a trick question. It does say a 9 to try to throw you off. There is no 9 on the spinner, so you can't count that as a successful outcome. So you only have the 3, so 1 over 8 times 40, and you get 5 times. Okay. Once again, you cannot count that as a success because 9's not even on the spinner to begin with. Okay. When you guys are talking about percents or talking about probability, it always adds up to 100% or 1.00 if you want to think of it as a fraction. Okay, so if 28% of the students are freshmen, 26% are sophomores, and 27% seniors, what are percent of the juniors? Okay, think you guys can figure that out. You add them up, subtract it from 100. A bag containing blue marbles and green marbles, the probability of picking a green marble is 1/4, so what is the probability of picking a blue marble? Well, hopefully you'd realize 3/4. All right, last thing I need to go over with you guys is called the counting principle. And the counting principle is great for those of us that like to change our clothes 100 times before we pick out an outfit. Because let's say you have 3 pairs of shoes and 2 shirts and 3 pairs of jeans and 4 jackets. Well, that's a lot of combinations of outfits on what you could choose from. Okay, and how you figure that out is just by multiplication. So let's say we have 2 hats, 3 shirts, and 4 pairs of pants that we can match. Okay? I want to know how many total number of outfits you could get out of that. Well, you multiply 2 times 3 times 4, and you get a total number of 24 outfits. Okay? Not too bad. Like I said, all you're doing is counting. So what if you go to lunch and you have 5 sandwiches to choose from, 1 dessert, and 3 drinks to choose from? How many different lunches would you be able to choose? Okay. Hopefully you just multiplied. 5 times 1 times 3 gives me 15 choices for lunch. Okay. Now the tricky part here, you guys, is when we're talking about people with the counting principle. Okay. With outfits or materialized things like this where you're just matching up food items, you just count. So 2 times 4 times 3 or whatever what it is. But when you are talking about individual people taking a place, you have to subtract 1 each time. So let's say there are 3 people going for president and VP. How many choices would you give? Okay. Well, you wouldn't go 3 times 3 times 3 because once somebody's a president, they can't also be a VP. Okay, so when you're working with people, you have to subtract 1 every time you count down to an item. So for the president, we have 3 choices. For the VP, we have now 2 choices. So there's 6 different outcomes where we could choose from a president and a VP with 3 different people. Okay, this concept will come up more tonight on your homework as well as in a day or two. But just remember that when you're talking about people, you have to subtract 1 each time. So another example would be if you were going on a race, okay, and there was 8 people racing, and they were finishing for first, second, and third. Okay. How many choices would you have for first place? 8. Okay, but once somebody takes first place in an event, they can't also take second place. So the second choice, you now have 7. The third choice, you now have 6. You multiply those together, and that's how many get choices that you guys have. Okay, so remember, counting principle, when it comes to people, you have to subtract a person. Probability is the total number of successes over the total number of outcomes. Expected value is the probability times the number of trials, and then the counting principle, just figuring out outfits, you just multiply. Okay, your homework tonight then, the sub does have for you, it's to complete worksheet 4. Okay, and like I said, you guys, please make sure you guys are being on your best behavior. I hopefully will be back on Friday. I have some procedures to do, so I look forward to seeing you guys then. Okay, bye.